From City National Arena inside Studio 31, welcome to the program, ladies and gentlemen. Looking forward to 1 hour of hockey talk during your lunch hour as you get in and out and about, taking part in your day. Daren, Millard, along with the voice of the Henderson Silver Knights, Brian McCormack, is with us. The Vegas Golden Knights on the road right now, completing a 2-game trip through the Central Division tomorrow night against the Nashville Predators after falling to the St. Louis Blues last night by a score of 5-2. We'll get into that game. We'll also chat with Will Nichol, the Director of Player Development with the Vegas Golden Knights, in just a little bit. Update you on some of the prospects that are within the organization. Some great things happening, both with Henderson and with the prospects that are in major, junior, and in college. And we'll also get into some roster news that's taking place right now with Max Pacioretty being on the road trip. But you watched last night, 2-0 lead, and then in 2 minutes and 15 seconds it vanished. That was a weird game because they had some really good looks. Some great chances.
They had some really good looks, and then for on the St. Louis side, you look at the goals they scored and the opportunities being given up. When you give up a lot of opportunities from between the hash marks, you know, the numbers aren't going to necessarily balance in your favor. But absolutely, they jumped out to a 2-0 lead, and if there's an opportunity to put your foot down at that point in the first period, maybe that's a different game, or if some of those bounce over the goal line, different game. But St. Louis is a team that is talented, has game breakers, and got a couple of fortunate bounces of their own, especially the O'Reilly goal. We talked about this before the show. The O'Reilly goal is going about 3 feet wide and hits the inside of Robin Leonard's pad and then goes, trickles behind him. That gave them life. And then for St. Louis, just a dynamic attack game against a Vegas team that hadn't been on the road for a bit.
What's the worst lead in hockey?
2-0 is what I'm told, but I don't know a single coach that wouldn't sign up for it.
Yeah. Because Vegas has trailed 2-0 on a semi-regular basis and been able to erase those deficits and win hockey games. And then they were up 2 Cobb last night, and it slipped away.
I guess it depends when you're up 2-0, right? Or when you're down 2-0. If it's 7 minutes in, well, there's plenty of runway left. And for the Golden Knights, especially the first goal, the Stevenson goal, was a rebound in front and just a Johnny on the spot kind of thing. You know, if you're able to generate that kind of pressure and funnel that kind of activity to the front of the net, if you can maintain that, if you can sustain that, well, then you can control the first period. For the Golden Knights, they controlled the first 7 minutes of the first period, but I don't know that they controlled the first period.
Right.
And the narrative can change in a quick break, and it did when the Falk breakaway. After that point, you're kind of like, all right, well, the first 7 minutes doesn't really count for anything anymore.
The Vegas Golden Knights are a record of 11-8 so far. Anybody would take that within the organization and run with the injuries that they've had. But I'm not going to say that it's accepted, but you're kind of waiting for one of those nights just to crop up after a 5-1 homestand and the way things have been going, being able to find different ways to win. That an effort or result is going to just pop out every now and then.
And also, again, where did it happen? It happened against the St. Louis Blues team that, is second in the Central, and, it's a good hockey team. It's a tough building to go into in any circumstance.
And they'd been sputtering a little bit, so they were ornery. I got the sense that they were a little bit testy.
A little testy, and again, it's I think when you look at how many teams can we say at this point of the season haven't been a little ornery, right? Yeah. We can talk about, Edmonton has gotten everyone's attention. Edmonton, Calgary, and then out east, the Florida Panthers and the Carolina Hurricanes. Everyone else has had, for every 4 good games, one of a vulnerable one. So it's for that sake, if anyone's had a bad week and a half or so, they're going to have a good day when you go to see them. It's just the way it works out usually. But last night was also a night where you talk about some of the scrambles, some of the opportunities that the Golden Knights had. Jordan Binnington played well last night, and sometimes you just tip your hat there too.
Mark Stone still searching for that first goal, but not for a lack of grade A opportunities. He was looking skyward on multiple occasions last night.
Yeah, and that's going to come. It's going to come. It's just a matter of him having been away for a while and then coming back to it's not like he's coming back and being reinserted on the line he's used to playing with either, right? So and the Golden Knights, I think this has been a very impressive stretch for the Golden Knights. Not just the depth that they have organizationally and also with the big club 24/7. They're finding ways to win without the lineup that they would have designed on paper at the start of the year. And that doesn't just tell you like, oh, good, we have depth that we can rely on in this time. That's depth you can rely on when you get back to 100% too. That guys down the lineup have the experience and the the track record of being productive. So for Mark Stone, it's going to happen for him, but eventually he's going to be playing with the players he's traditionally suited to playing with, and hopefully soon Max Pacioretty is on that list too. It's going to come, but it's right now he's been inserted into the lineup, and immediately upon arrival becomes again one of the most dependent on productive players in the lineup the second he gets there. So it's okay for it to take a little time.
That second opportunity last night, the puck just rolled on his stick and goes up and over the net. Daren Millard along with Brian McCormack, the voice of the Henderson Silver Knights, with you on Nighttime at Noon on Fox Sports Las Vegas. Will Nichol, Director of Player Development. We're going to dive into the prospects. He'll join us in just a little bit. You were already scheduled to be on the show today, so I'd like to say it's great planning that we just shuffled you over here and to talk about all these Henderson Silver Knights that are up, but it worked out that way. So tell us about all these guys that have been called up and have been contributing and been able to help just do more than tread water for the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing is if you want to go all the way back to the start of the year, because you can even say Jake Lecision and Jonas Rönnbjerg land on that list of guys that were probably penciled in to be Silver Knights and frankly take on larger roles in Henderson. Mm-hmm. They've been pushed into NHL duty, and they've been very, very good. And I think one of the things that's been helpful is that Rönnbjerg, Lecision, Cotter, even though they are second to third line types at the AHL level even, you've asked them to come up, and you haven't asked them to be 30-goal scorers. This is something I'd be curious to ask Will about when we have him on. Is it harder for a player who's a point-per-game guy at the AHL level to get called up to the NHL level and impress, or to meet the expectations of the fan base? Because, okay, you're a point-per-game guy, you're a top-line scorer. We hope that you are that when you get to the NHL full-time, so let's see some hints of productivity that you can do that. It's hard. It's a hard threshold to meet, because in the AHL, you're playing against a certain skill level, and then the NHL, you're playing against the best players in the world. It's going to take more to fool them or to find those passing lanes or whatever it is you do well. If you're being asked to be a hard-working checker around the perimeter, be hard to play against, yes, the players at the next level are better. But your role and your responsibility of staying within the systems, it doesn't change that dramatically. So for Jake Lecision to put up, 5 points every 13, 14, 15 games and shut down the other team's best line at the AHL level, the shutdown part's going to be harder at the NHL level. But you're not expecting, if he doesn't have points for a few days, you're not worried about that. You're like, oh, he's playing good defensive hockey. So the guys that the Golden Knights have had to rely on from Henderson are the types who have been strong, responsible, checking, play through the middle of the ice types of players, and I think that's allowed them to go to the NHL and not really feel a tremendous amount of pressure. Just do your job and be dependable. And so far, I think we can all agree that Rönnbjerg, they've been dependable and then some. And then for Paul Cotter scoring 2 goals in 4 games, I talked to him when he came back because he scored his first NHL goal, and then he met the Silver Knights in Stockton and played 2 games there, scored 2 more goals there. He's become a scoring machine wherever he is. But he said, it was kind of a relief. Even when you're not expecting to score a goal, it's a relief to score a goal and just say, okay, they can never take that away from me. But I think he's probably the one that I think has been the most eye-opening of the Silver Knights who've got called up this year, because he's put up points in the AHL, but not explosively so.
No, kind of all the way through his career.
Yeah,
those numbers are not just. At times you'll get the guy who has multiple 40-goal seasons in junior and then settles into his career.
Right.
But Paul's never really done that.
Which is also interesting because he has hands.
Yes.
He's a skill player, but I think that maybe even forced him to more focus into like, okay, how can I be grittier? How can I be more crash and bang, harder to play against? Because his greatest. I wish I could remember the exact number. Shame on me that I can't. But when I first met him, I was like, all right, so who's the shootout guy around here? And he said, I think he said like I'm 12 for 13 lifetime or something. And the point is that when Paul Carr's on a breakaway, he's confident. Mm-hmm. But it's not like he's on breakaways every day either.
Right.
So I think that was part of the transition for him in pro hockey was, okay, let's add another element here that's a little more suited to the middle six that I've been playing. And this year the scoring touch has been there, but that's also third year of being in the American Hockey League. You're supposed to get better. Mm-hmm. You're supposed to add tools to the tool belt. So I think when he scored the goal, I remember asking Joel Ward, I said, were you surprised he scored in the NHL this quickly? He's like, I thought he was going to do really well up there. because he's got the frame, he's got the mindset to play the role they're asking him to play. So not that Joel Ward was predicting goals, but he said, I thought he was going to do well. I thought it was going to suit him. And you see that sometimes too. A player in the AHL is what he is, and he gets called up to the NHL. It's like, boy, it almost seems like it's easier for him up there somehow.
Yeah.
I've had players tell me that. Like Derek Pouliot said once, he said, it's actually easier in the NHL because, structure. And, not only are you making fewer mistakes because you're up, but no one else is making mistakes either. Every pass is on the tape. In some ways, the game is almost, at times, cleaner. It's easier for you to jump into it sometimes. But when Cotter scored his first goal, that kind of like inside-outside wrister he got when he got underneath the stick of, I can't remember who the defenseman was, but when he did that, I said like, oh, that was pretty good. And then like Tim Speltz said, oh, he does that in practice all the time. That's kind of patented Paul Cotter. I think Gary Lawless said the same thing on the air. So he's suited very well to the NHL. I'm sure catching a little lightning in the ball too. Just excited to be there, as a lot of guys are. But to me, the fact that he has jumped in so quickly and been so productive and so involved, to me, that bell rang off of having heard from several players in the past, like, sometimes the NHL game somehow just suits you better, depending on who you're playing with and how you handle yourself. And well, Paul Carr has handled himself very well so far.
I think you're right. Jake Leschyshyn was penciled in for the Henderson Silver Knights, but has played his way through responsibility and being able to embrace that role and earning Pete DeBoer's trust this year has earned those extra games. Ben Jones, though, been up the last couple of games. It's like all these dreams are coming true this year in all these debuts. But give us an idea of where Ben Jones fits in the whole scheme.
Ben is interesting because he's a player that's gotten better year over year. His rookie season, he was in Chicago, played well, but the numbers weren't particularly. They weren't really eye-popping at all. They weren't really a factor. He was under 10 points. He was just, playing a fourth-line role. Last year, we saw a spark offensively, knowing what to do around the net. This year, it's been the penalty kill, most obviously, both in terms of just the doggedness on puck pursuit, and when you get to puck out into space, he can win a foot race. So this is a player that has stayed within himself, and he's progressing steadily. The points are there, but he's also putting himself in better positions. And I think what applies to Ben is something that applied to what Manny Vivero said about both Jake Leschyshyn and Jonas Rondbjerg last year. And he said, well, the thing that's so good about them is that they're always where they're supposed to be. And if you're talking players, well, let the game come to you. Well, if you're where you're supposed to be, the game will come to you. That's why they put you there. That's why the X's and O's on the whiteboard are where they are. Players who chase the game get outside themselves. A, they make mistakes, and B, sometimes they miss the opportunities because the glowing areas of the ice are the places where they're not standing. Ben Jones has done a much better job of being positionally sound, fundamentally sound, and he's cashing in on the chances he gets. And I think that's an element too. You and I can stand in the exact same place as Max Pacioretty. Now, of course, he should score more than we are, but even a high percentage, right? There's a 90% scoring area you and I probably can't bury.
Right.
There's a certain element of putting same players in same spots, and, well, you just got to hit the spot. You just got to score, and that's a confidence thing, that's an experience thing, and sometimes it's just can you do it or not thing. And that's something Ben Jones has gotten better at. When he's in high percentage scoring areas, he's scoring goals, and it's elevated his value.
Coaches will say a certain player being up and having success is not a real surprise, whereas the fan base and those on the periphery will go, boy, I can't believe that player's doing that, or that player's been that effective or getting that many minutes.
Yeah.
Jonas Rondbjerg is the guy that the coaches say, no-brainer.
Mm-hmm. And last year when people asked me, like, okay, who's a guy who would be like quickest to get up?
Yeah.
What do I know? But I said, you know what? Rondbjerg wouldn't surprise me just because, again, he's fundamentally sound, but he's just so good 200 feet long.
Coaches gush over Rondbjerg.
And he missed his entire rookie season. He played all of a few shifts in his first season in Chicago, suffered a lower body injury, missed the year. So last year it was like, okay, how quickly can he get back to himself, let alone this is the American Hockey League now. It's not Europe anymore. It's not, the junior leagues or whatever. A perfectly healthy guy. Like, okay, how do you acclimate yourself to that next step up? So that plus missing a year, like, all right, let's see what we get out of Jonas Rondbjerg. Within 5 games, everyone was like, oh, he's even better than we thought he was going to be. And he's just a perfect prototype for the role that he's playing right now with the VGK. He just fits it so well. And, again, it's a long season. As the team gets healthier, who knows what decisions are made for anybody on the roster in any direction. But I think he's very much made the case that they know exactly what his skill set is and how it applies to the NHL game for a long time.
We will talk about those players getting healthy as we continue on Nighttime at Noon. We'll also check in with the Director of Player Development for the Vegas Golden Knights, Wil Nichol, as we roll on in this hour. Ladies and gentlemen, the spectacular Hotel California in Santa Barbara, California, is the newest exciting addition to the Foley Entertainment Group. It's spectacular. Experience an extraordinary stay at one of the 121 luxury guest rooms and suites. Taste the region's finest wine at Foley Food and Wine Society's tasting room, and treat yourself to unparalleled massage at Mejerel at the Moroccan-inspired spa. All in the heart of the American Riviera. Designed for domestic and international guests alike, Hotel California is the perfect destination for any traveler seeking a one-of-a-kind luxury experience. Hotel California is Santa Barbara's premier urban destination. Visit hotelcalifornian.com to book your stay today. An update on Max Pacioretty next on Nighttime at Noon on Fox Sports Las Vegas. Show continues from Studio 31. You can watch us live streaming this program on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, the various social media channels of the Vegas Golden Knights. We're, of course, located in the second floor of City National Arena. Daren Millard, along with the voice of the Henderson Silver Knights, Brian McCormack, and we are modeling our new T-shirts. Maggie just brought them up. These are Jack Eichel T-shirts. They are launching on Gold Friday over at the Arsenal and the Armory, exclusive to the Arsenal and the Armory. These are team-designed Jack Eichel shirts. Pretty cool.
I think so.
You know what I noticed the other day? By the way, amazing fabulous, intimate interview with Manny Viveros for Hockey Fights Cancer Night.
Thank you.
That was beautiful, and Manny would want me to mention this. You had a bit of a show going on there with the arms.
See,
the way that you were leaning in there.
I've gotten this from multiple people.
Yeah.
And I'm not taking it as, I don't think it's a compliment. I think
was
it's
one of them Gary Lawless?
No,
okay, because he was
that's something to say.
He was fixated on the arms when we were watching the interview.
Okay, well, I've had a couple of the players make mention, but I don't think it's them complimenting the arms. I think it's their very subtle way of saying, Brian, you're wearing shirts that are too small for you.
There might have been a bit of that too.
Yeah. This is an XL. Okay, so this is the best I could do. But we had this conversation like, Brian, are you a large or an XL? I said, I'm a large or I'm lying to myself. I'm an XL the rest of the time.
You don't get into a large. There's not a chance you get into a large.
Well, they vary. It's
a
real large.
If you put on this large T-shirt right now, you're turning into Hulk. It's ripping all over.
Stick
the place.
around for the third segment.
Yeah. There's not a chance. When you said I'm a large, I'm like no. If you're a large, then I'm going down to a small.
It's denial. Is what it is.
Well, deny.
But I'm a different.
But you did have the arms on full display during the conversation.
I'm a different size in October than I am in May. But yeah, for the conversation with Manny, it was just and we've been able to touch on the subject of his battle with prostate cancer a couple times now over the last month or so. First of all, hats off to Manny for being willing to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because it is obviously a difficult thing that everyone goes through differently, but he's been very adamant that he wants to be able to be a messenger, not only to confidence, especially this time of year and with Hockey Fights Cancer for the
how about a lifesaver?
Fans.
He's gonna save lives.
Absolutely, he is, and that's where the most important part of the message that he's pushing, or at least I think the most important part, he is hammering early detection.
Yeah.
And how he said that a blood test at the start of the year saved his life. He is going to save his life as he's going to tend to the actual treatment over the next month or so. But brave of him as he's undergoing what he's undergoing to be, not even willing to talk about it. He insists to talk about it, and I think that's going to make a difference for a lot of people.
So the late great Brian Murray, somebody that admitted they should have got tested sooner, and it was just the idea of the test and what goes along with the test and everything, that the vanity or whatever term you want to use it, he put that off. Yeah. And he said he would have battled through it, been able to get through it before it became terminal, had he been able to just face up and get the test. And I always think of that, and then I hear Manny promoting it and advising us and giving us his story, and it's just it's being able to do that in his situation with all that he's dealing with is a tremendous compliment to him.
Yep, and I think it makes him feel, it adds some value to his situation. Yep. It's a situation that he doesn't want to be going through. Nobody does. No. But while you're doing it, do some good, and he's done that. And I think, to your point, the reason people don't get tests early, it's a human element. I think we all have it. We all have a little bit of an ostrich syndrome that we stick our head in the sand.
Yes.
So all the more important for someone who's going through this to say, hey, not only is it important, it's not that hard. Get it done. You're better either way. Hopefully everything's good, but you're better off knowing.
Suck it up. Do it.
Get it done. You're going to thank yourself afterwards, no matter what the result is, and you're going to put yourself in the best position if there's something you need done.
And just so you know, I'm one of those people. And
100%.
In having Brian in the back of my head, and then hearing Manny, I've moved past that, and I'm going down the path of getting tested. So, and I'm of that age group. So, I ladies and gentlemen, I know of what you speak when you say, I'm just not gonna. I can find any excuse in the world to not do it. But,
I was finding them until Manny talked to us all, and once he did, everyone on the staff got to it.
We have a pre-Thanksgiving meeting with the Nashville Predators for the Vegas Golden Knights tomorrow night. It's weird how this works, and when you're around a team or a league for a little while, you kind of figure out there's some similarities and some trends. Mm-hmm. Well, 2 years ago, the Golden Knights played the Nashville Predators on the last game before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And Vegas was sputtering a little bit at the time, and it looked like it was going to go down as a defeat, and there would be some questions being asked about where the roster was, where the team was, because they were about 500. Well, lo and behold, Max Pacioretty ties the game with 0.3 seconds to go, and then they win in overtime on a 2-on-0, Stastny and Schmidt. and they kind of, it was a real big moment on the season. They didn't put them over the top, but a huge moment. Well, 2021, the team is battling through some huge injury issues, getting through it. But the last game before Thanksgiving is against Nashville, and while Pacioretty was the hero 2 years ago, he plays a different role right now. There's a lot of talk that he may be able to play tomorrow night and come back for the first time since Game 2 of the season.
What a massive shot in the arm that would be. It will be whenever it happens, but if it would be for this, you tell me. I always find there's symbolism for this specific time of year, and you've been doing this for a long time and talked to dozens and dozens of coaches over the years. Have you ever asked for a benchmark? We always say
it used to be Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Except for this year.
Exactly. And that's where it's always been like, okay, we always say, hey, this is happening or that's happening, but it's early, but it's early, but it's early. When is it not early anymore? At what point can we say, like, this just is what it is?
Well, American Thanksgiving is, if you're out of the playoffs in American Thanksgiving, you traditionally have a really hard time getting into a playoff position.
With the exception of, like, what, the 14 Kings and the Blues a couple of years ago were probably the exceptions, and the Blues had Jordan Binnington as their wild card.
Exactly.
And that's the interesting thing here.
But the season started late this year.
Right.
And they've got the Olympic break where there's some jam in the schedule. So that date of American Thanksgiving is really the middle of December this year.
That late, you think?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's about.
All right.
And the different people that I've talked to.
So we're still talking 2 weeks.
Goofy enough, but I've actually talked to people about this. About where the actual date is.
Any idea that I have? I assume you had 2 weeks ago.
No. You're right on the money. But I was trying to nail it down because I've heard so many people talk about the American Thanksgiving thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's not accurate this year.
Well, and especially, and the reason I bring it up is for the Golden Knights, it's extremely inaccurate because the first 2 months of season has at no point, except for maybe opening day, been the actual team that we would be trying to assess.
And even there's pieces missing.
Yeah. So, in that sense, every team goes through something, but I struggle to think of any team, with the exception of, the week that Ottawa are going through their COVID situation, in terms of actual long-term impacting day-to-day operations of the team. I can't think of anybody who's going through it as dramatically as the VGK have been.
They have not had their top two lines since Game 2.
To which point, we can almost say, let's say it's 2 weeks from now, as the bell curve that you've gotten from people you've spoken to, we can kind of start to assess everybody else. It's like, all right, they are what they are.
Yes.
And now it's almost like the race is frozen in time. And if any team, there's no guarantee that they will do it, but when the VGK get everyone back, or at least start getting significant pieces back a chunk at a time, could they go on a run? Like in years where we would be like, wow, this team was at the back of the pack, and then by March they'd rushed all the way back to the front. How did they do it?
Got healthy.
VGK would have to do it.
Yeah.
But we shouldn't be shocked if it happens because they've been missing their best players for the entire stretch.
Yeah, this will be different than St. Louis.
Yeah.
In 2019. No.
They had Jordan Binnington. That was the.
Yeah, and Vegas is nowhere near in a hole like the St. Louis Blues were that year.
Well, that's what's amazing is, again, they're above 500. Battling through what they've been battling through, they won. It was 5 of 6 on the homestand recently. Like, they're a winning hockey team, and they're doing it with a large contingency of Silver Knights, and they're doing it with players that they've been picking up here and there to help sustain. So that's where, to me, it's an interesting factor that this is usually where you look and say, like, okay, let's look at the standings and how much will it look like this a month from now. That's not the situation we have this year at all.
It's been an impressive season, maybe the most impressive coaching work that I've seen in a long time, where you've actually had to coach every single night and every single period to an nth degree. That's been positive, and just players being able to be positive and be able to focus on the moment and not get frustrated. I think there was that moment, maybe game 3, 4, where woe is me, which is natural, and then I don't know whether it was the coaching, I don't know whether it was the players, kind of turned it around, and that those games, Denver and Dallas, going on the road, helped make it happen. And then you start to get that sign people are coming back. Shea Theodore was back last night.
Yep.
Zach Whitecloud
just
a couple of
back.
games before that. Mark Stone a couple of games before that. There's this
drip.
Yeah, and it's almost better that it happens that way.
Yeah.
in a sense. I'm sure Pete DeBoer would disagree with me on that, but
you don't need everyone to you don't need everyone to refine themselves on the same night, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, by the time we get so and so back, Stone's been back for 3 or 4 games and he's hit his stride, and it allows you to gradually roll into it. And again, to your point, we talk about for Vegas as they get everyone back, and it's going to be almost like a new take on the season from that point forward as they do. Mm-hmm. As they stand right now, they're 5 points back of Calgary.
Yeah.
After all of this, they're 5 points back at Calgary. They're 4 points back of Edmonton. A couple of games in hand for the Oilers, but they're very, very much in the mix.
You know who's
after
ticked
going
off?
through a nightmare of a start of the 2 months in terms of what the roster's been available to them.
The most ticked off people in the National Hockey League right now are Edmonton and Calgary, because they thought with their starts,
this
they'd
was
have
their
such
opportunity.
a big
Yep.
cushion. We've got Will Nicholl standing by. Will's going to be ticked off at us, because you and I are just talking
taking
away,
all the oxygen out of the room.
and he's standing by to join us via Zoom, and he'll join us on nighttime at noon in just a little bit. The director of player development for the Vegas Golden Knights. Golden Knights fans need more hockey. Make sure you check out the newest team in town, the Henderson Silver Knights, and talk about the job that Manny Vivros and his coaching staff, Jamie Heward, taking the reins for a period of time, have done right now, dealing with their own roster flux. Single game, group, and mini suite tickets for home games during this season are on sale now. Contact Henderson Silver Knights ticketing team at 702-645-4259. DM me if you want that number again on Twitter. DMs are wide open, or visit HendersonSilverKnights.com to learn more. Will Nichol graciously standing by, patiently standing by. We will talk about all the prospects within the organization when we continue at nighttime at noon on Fox Sports Las Vegas. Making it happen from City National Arena inside Studio 31 at the home worldwide headquarters of the Vegas Golden Knights. Daren Millard, Brian McCormack on Fox Sports Las Vegas. 1 hour of VGK talk and then 2 more hours of hockey talk coming up in the VGK Insider Show 4 to 6 this afternoon. Brian McCormack, a regular guest on that program. Allie McCormack joined us every now and then, Brian's wife, when we decide to throw her on the phone.
She won't drive anywhere with me during the program now.
No?
She's very, very careful. She's like, is that show on? Like, no, not at the moment.
We got to get our good friend Will Nichol on the program from 4 to 6 more often. Director of Player Development for the Vegas Golden Knights. How are you, pal?
Hey, guys. How you doing? Thanks
Good.
for having me on.
Thanks for being patient. Dakota, making sure that you were all hooked up and ready to go. You've been on the air with us, just patiently listening for about 40 minutes.
You know what? It was great. It gave me a chance to listen to you guys. I feel like there's almost not a lot for me to say. You guys did such a nice job covering it, especially the first 15 minutes. It was great.
What do you think of McCormack's arms? Pretty solid, eh?
See, this is a guy. Yeah, he's unimpressed.
Let's stick to the prospects.
Hey, so as director of player development, you're on the road right now.
Yes.
Where are you? What kind of trip are you on right now? Give us this is sort of
This is a great one. This is what I call a backpack trip. I left this morning, and I will be. I'm based out of Madison, Wisconsin. That's where my wife. My wife moved there when she was 7, so she's basically from there. I'm from there as well, and I'll be back in Madison tomorrow night. I'm in Minneapolis tonight, seeing a college game. Making sure that we, if there's another Zach Whitecloud out there, that we find him. And then tomorrow I will be over in Green Bay, seeing Jackson Hallam. And Green Bay is a little over 2 hours from Madison. So I'll get home late tomorrow night and be able to spend Thanksgiving with my wife and her mom and dad.
Go ahead.
Sure. On a trip like this, Will, for the fans that maybe haven't heard you speak before, you have the opportunity to go to all these rather obscure towns. Some of them, of course, major junior cities people know of, but the stickers on your suitcase must be rather unique and extensive.
Yeah. It's really, I think it's one of the neat parts of my job is I get to see a lot of different parts of the world. And I also get to meet people, like Vaughn Karpen, for example. He's from the Paw. And Carp is like a brother to me. We've become very close, and I never would have met him if it wasn't for this game. I can't say I've been to the Paw yet, but I've been to Winnipeg and Brandon and other parts of Manitoba. But yeah, obviously, Brian, some trips are, I guess, easier than others, easier places to get to than others. But, I love what I do, and I love seeing different parts of the world and meeting different people from those parts.
Let's go through some of the prospects. Brennan Brisson is lighting it up at Michigan right now. Give us the latest on him and how he's progressed since he was drafted.
Yeah, well, Brennan's doing a great job of filling out his 200-foot game is probably the best way. Like, he's got things, guys, that you can't teach. He thinks the game at a very, very high level. He sees the game at a very, very high level. So as he goes up, he's going to be even better with better players because he thinks it that well. Mel Pearson told me that he hasn't had a kid at Michigan that can shoot the puck like Brennan since Patch was there. So he's got all those things, right? But you guys hit on it earlier. And I actually sent a quote to Brennan and all the prospects about a week ago that Pete had said about Jake Lecision. And, his 200-foot game and gaining the trust of a coach at the NHL level. All these kids can score at the younger ages and at the other levels. But what is it that gets you, into the lineup, helps you stay in the lineup? You got to get the coach's trust. And Brennan's really worked on that, and his 200-foot game has become much better.
Will, is it useful for Brendan to be playing with a Michigan team now that is stacked with first-round picks and also has a lot expected of it? Is that a good environment for a player to develop in?
It's a great, they got a great team. Yeah, no doubt. Mel's done a great job. He and his staff putting a real talented group together. And yeah, I think it's been great. It was great last year. They had a pretty talented group, but this year they're at a different level in terms of talent. And it just, you see him starting to shine even more, which kind of goes back to my first point is I think he's going to be better with even better players. And he's showing that this year.
You are traveling around trying to find the next one and keeping track of the ones that are already drafted and part of the Vegas Golden Knights organization. Lucas Cormier, we got to see him in camp. We got to see him play. How's his development since he's gone back?
His has been great. So what I just talked about with Brennan, Lucas is working on at the defensive end. So the best thing for Lucas was when Krim and I sat with him on his exit meeting, his exhibition game. And I don't know how well you guys remember it because you guys have so many things going on, but the first period, Lucas let the game come to him. He wasn't trying to force offense. He wasn't doing what I would say were junior habits, and he played lights out. Well, the second period, like a lot of young players do, he started to go to his junior habits and try to do too much and quickly learn that you can't do that. And it was a great thing for us to point to when Krim and I met with him. And I keep going back to that game with him and his coach, and he's really bought in. Like there's very few defensemen, you guys, that can just be that good offensively where they can make a living and a career in the NHL. They got to be able to defend the rush and they got to be able to defend in their zone. Right. So Lucas is buying into that and he's making some steps. The offensive stuff comes natural to him. I think he's second in the league right now for defensemen in points, but our message to him is get points the right way, right? We'd rather have you get 50 points the right way than 80 points the wrong way. And to his credit, he's doing that.
With Will Nicholl, the Director of Player Development. Well, to bounce around a little, for the Vegas Golden Knights, they've had a lot of Silver Knights come up into the lineup, a lot of players making their NHL debut this year. That point you make about Lucas Cormier, let the game come to you, don't go outside of yourself. Is it hard to assess or to balance the need of, for the VGK, okay, we're calling guys up mathematically, we need bodies in the lineup, but also making sure that when you bring a player up, it's something that they're ready for. Is that a hard thing to assess from an organizational standpoint, that you bring up the right guys and not just whoever the next man up is going to be?
Well, I don't know for other organizations, but for ours, it starts with George and Krim, and it works through Pete working with Manny and, myself and Bob Lowe's and Von Karpen working together. We don't have any silos. We collaborate on all decisions. So I know that George and Krim have a very good idea of what the prospects are when they get to Henderson. And then Manny and his staff have just done a tremendous job. And so I know they're in communication, Tim Speltz with Krim and George and Pete on what they're doing in Henderson. Right. So I think that they have a real good idea of what these what these young players are going to bring in terms of strengths when they come up.
We've seen so many players get their hot lap out there and be able to twirl around and make that dream of cracking the National Hockey League for the first time. What sense do you get, having been with these players now for a number of years and watching that happen?
It's hard not to get emotional. It really is. I try to hurry back to the hotel or hurry to my home if I'm home to see, these guys make their debut. Like when Paul Cotter scored his first goal, when Lecision scored the game winner, when Jonas scored, when Benny had his first game the other night. It's hard for me not to jump off the couch for these kids because I've been fortunate. I've been a part of their journey. I haven't been there for the whole time, right? But I've been there for a chapter of their journey, if you will. And all four of those kids have gone through adversity, right? And I always say that it's probably the most important part of my job is to be there when things aren't great for a player, to help them, understand this is all part of the process. Like adversity is part of life. Adversity, I heard you guys talking about Manny and his journey, and adversity is going to come at us, whether it's in life or in hockey. So grab on, and let's develop through adversity, right? Let's embrace this adversity and let's find ways to get better. And all four of these kids have had their own bout with adversity, their own journey that I've been able to be a part of. But, Daren and Brian, like I say all the time, the kids have the most important part of the equation, right? Like they have to want it more than I want it, more than Pete wants it, Manny, right? And all 4 of these kids, fall into that category as well. Like, we can give them everything that they need in terms of resources and in terms of telling them what they have to do, but they have to do it, And so I'm always just so proud when these kids make their debut, because they've done the work, and so they should enjoy that hot lap, if you will, and they should enjoy that first night coming out of the tunnel and on the T-Mobile.
We got a bit of an echo, so just bear with us, Will.
Sorry,
as we
guys.
Go through this. No,
is that me?
I think just plug your headphones back in, or
okay.
We'll just work through this live on the air.
Is that better?
If you are the strongest or most point of contact with these players coming up, do you reach out to them after they make their debut? Do they talk to you after they make their debut?
So I try to leave the guys alone once they're up with the big club, but with each one of these kids, with Hager when he got up, with White Cloud when he was up, with Cogs, with Kolazar, all those guys, at some point I either send them a text, or what I like to do, lately is I record, the message, and then I send it to them in a text so they can hear, my voice and hear just how excited and how proud I am of them. But, I try to leave them alone unless they need something.
I think it's cool, Will, for what the VGK is going through right now. A lot of call-ups. The Silver Knights, a lot of guys going up. When we were on the bus from Stockton to Sacramento last week, everyone has their phones up and they're watching because they want to see. When Paul Cotter scored his first goal, you heard guys yelling up and down the hallway. It's great for the player. It's great for the organization, but it's great for everybody to see the young guys having success, even the players who are hoping to one day make their way up.
Yeah, and how great is it? And it just speaks to the character of the players in our organization that there's not jealousy. They're happy for these players as they go up. Obviously, they all want to get up there, right? But we've got a culture where it's team first, and that's pretty neat. I didn't know that story, Brian, and it doesn't surprise me at all, knowing the players that we have in Henderson and then the players that we have coming up right now through juniors and college hockey.
Chatting us from a hotel room in Minneapolis, did you say?
Minneapolis, yep.
All
I'm going to see Penn State and St. Thomas tonight.
Oh, great. Penn State has got I've watched them on television a couple of times, so that'll be a great opportunity tonight.
Yeah, Guy Godowski does a great job there. They got a nice, hard-working team.
They do. Director of Player Development for the Vegas Golden Knights is Will Nichol, on the road getting it done. Just some other prospects, you know them more than I, so give us an idea of who's jumping out at you right now within the organization.
Yeah, well, I think the one that, we're going to be excited. Well, we're going to be excited when they all come. But, Ivan Morozov is the one that I can just tell you I've worked the hardest or spent the most time on because he's over playing in St. Petersburg. But last year, he was the top scoring player in the KHL under the age of 22. And he was 20 all last year. He just turned 21 recently. So I think, and I've said this before, you're going to see a lot of Paul Stastny in his game. Like, he's a true two-way center. Very, very good center iceman. He's obviously going to be one that you're going to be excited about. What I want to hit on a little bit too, guys, is Bob Lowe's and his staff. Like, you go through some of these guys, like Jacob Urbanitz, who's in Charlottetown, 4th-round pick, Jacob Demick, who's in Edmonton. Those two are having great rookie seasons in the CHL. I've been really impressed with them. Jackson Hallam, I'm not sure there's a more talented player in the USHL than Jackson. He's a 3rd-round pick. Danny Chaika, is a 2nd-round pick, who's just got a real high upside, real high ceiling, playing in Guelph. So I think what Bobby and those guys have done and continue to do is they're able to get more value than where they're picking these kids a lot of times, and that helps us keep the cupboard more than full.
And Will, another player from the most recent draft class, the 1st-round pick, Zach Dean, who was rehabbing.
I just saw Zach. He played his first game. So I want to give some credit here too to Todd Richardson and Jay Millett, their staff. They did an unbelievable job getting Zach healthy. And I went for his first game back, almost expecting it to be, not much of a game for the kid. And he looked like he did in the first game of the rookie tournament, and Brian, you were there. He was very good in that first game. So credit to Todd and their staff for getting him ready. He felt great during the game, after the game. He's got a motor, and I guess I'd compare him in some ways to Peyton Krebs, with that motor and that compete. He's got really quick hands. Sees the ice. He's a really good player, good prospect. And I'll be up there this coming Tuesday and Wednesday to spend some time with him. Charlottetown comes in as well, so I'll see Burbanitz and Cormier play Gatineau.
We see the pictures. We see the players holding their pucks from their first goals, and in the background somewhere in there should be superimposed a little shot of Will Nichol, as he's been part of that journey from the very start with these kids. Success is deserved for you, and safe travels as well. Happy Thanksgiving, pal.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving, guys. You're doing a great job. Keep it up, and thanks for having me on.
We'll chat soon. There's Will Nicholl, Director of Player Development for the Vegas Golden Knights. We'll take a break. We'll come back and wrap things up on Nighttime at Noon on Fox Sports Las Vegas. Vegas Golden Knights taking on the Nashville Predators. Coming up tomorrow night, last game before Thanksgiving, and you can watch the game on AT&T Sportsnet, or you can watch the game on AT&T Sportsnet while you're at Stadium Swim. A watch party at Circa coming up tomorrow afternoon. A pregame show at 4:30, 4 o'clock on Fox Sports Las Vegas, and then you can watch Face-Off, whatever telecast or broadcast that you're listening to. But Stadium Swim's a pretty cool place.
I haven't been there yet. I don't know what I'm waiting for. I think I'm just waiting for the right occasion, like some sort of maybe a playoff watch party or something like that. Or I mean, it's not typical swim
What are you
season
doing
now,
tomorrow?
I guess. Going to Stadium Swim now, I think.
Yeah.
That's I was waiting for an invitation from you.
I
and
know
here it
people.
is. You know people.
I know people.
High up people, or
No,
the
like I know Gosher, who knows like really important people.
well-connected guy.
Yeah, but I can get your name on the list.
That might be the one.
Stadium Swim tomorrow. Hey,
I'll wear this T-shirt.
yes,
That's what I'll do.
So these Jack Eichel T-shirts that we've got on, if you're listening to the program, they're Jack Eichel sweaters, T-shirts with a hockey card, where the player card going on, like like if you're playing poker.
Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
I like it's very detail oriented in the sense that the curls.
Yep.
They're accounted for Jack Eichel
In a J
and the J
with a Jack.
not for Joe,
And it's
not for
it's
Joker or Jack.
It's the Jack card, and so that's going to be exclusively for sale this Friday, Gold Friday. Come over to the Arsenal, the Armory, check it out, and it's going to be part of the Big Black or the Gold Friday sale coming up this weekend.
And then Lifeguard Arena has Silver Saturday on Saturday, and they're going to be selling the Nevada Day jerseys.
Oh, very
being
good.
worn.
Busy Saturday.
Yeah, yep. The Iowa Wild are in town Saturday and Sunday to afternoon matinee games.
So you can see the Henderson Silver Knights on Saturday and the Vegas Golden Knights on Saturday night. Afternoon, day-night doubleheader.
You let you work off the Thanksgiving dinner with a busy hockey weekend.
Ooh, a lot of fun. Thanksgiving coming up, and then, of course, we've got weekend hockey for you. Connor McDavid in on Saturday, Iowa Wild on Saturday. 3 games for you this weekend of professional hockey. Brian McCormack, thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having me, Daren.
We'll talk to you again tomorrow, and we continue with the Henderson Silver Knights and the Vegas Golden Knights week schedule on Thanksgiving week.